I mean, at this point, anything's better than Kingsman 2. What is going on, everybody? My name is Ben James, and welcome to my review of The Kingsman, directed by Matthew Vaughn and his third installment in the Kingsman series. So I actually did go out of my way and watch this movie in theaters in November, and when I saw that it only grossed $125 million at the box office with a budget of $100 million, I thought we'd talk about it, especially since it actually just came out on streaming and DVD as well. So today I am going to be introducing a new rating system. So for my new rating system, I'm going to rate 5 parts of this film from a metric of 1 out of 5, and then for an overall score, I'm going to rate it 1 out of 10. So without further ado, let's get into this review. So to sum up the plot of this movie, we have Orlando, the Duke of Oxford, played by Ralph Fiennes. He's a loving father to his only son, Conrad, and his sole purpose is to prevent a war that's being fabricated by a group called the Flock. With his knowledge of warfare, him, his butler, and his maid set off to stop the war from happening and prevent his son from enlisting. So the first thing I want to talk about this film that really caught my eye when the trailer came out is the cast. Ralph Fiennes does a remarkable job as the lead in this film. He does a great job of capturing the compassion of a father who just wants his son to be okay, but also being a skillful leader. Jimon Hunsu and Gemma Arterton are some great supporting cast, and they really breathe life into their characters who would normally be just background additions. I will say Conrad, played by Harrison Dickinson, is one of the weakest parts of the cast, but I don't think that's his fault. I think that's just the script and how the character was written. But he also has some great emotional scenes later on in this film that really show off his acting skills. Now, our cast of villains is very vast, and the main villain, who you would think would be the best one, is a very single-note bad guy who doesn't offer much to the table. The villain who steals the show, though, is Rasputin, played by Rhys Ifans, who we last saw playing Dr. Connors, or the Lizard, in No Way Home. But man, does this guy steal the show. Every appearance he had on screen just turned the energy of the film way up, and it just had me smiling at this ridiculous character. The only fault was I wish he had some more screen time, or maybe was even the main villain. I feel like the whole film would have benefited from this. But one of my biggest complaints about this movie is I don't think it knows what it wants to be. The first 15 minutes is a flashback to explain why our main character makes the decisions he makes, but I feel like it's just this wobbly piece at the bottom of a Jenga set that's gonna make this whole plot fall down on itself. Because if you remove that one piece, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And for a movie about the badass spy organization of the Kingsmen, it makes me wonder how the Kingsmen came to be in the later films with this origin. There's one scene where they actually act like spies and they go undercover, and it's the best scene in the movie, and it just never happens again after that point. But most of the movie is about intercepting information and making moves with politicians, and it felt more like a war movie. And I think there's a simple fix you could do that, is just have them extract the information by going on missions as spies, but we don't get that here. And coming back to the villain, he has no interesting motive, and I think that's why they decided to hide his identity, to give something for the audience to kind of be waiting to be revealed. But then when it is revealed, it is extremely underwhelming, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay. And if it wasn't for the cinematography injecting the feeling of Kingsman into this film, I would not think this is a Kingsman film. Which, speaking of the cinematography, it does a great job of doing the unique shots that the other Kingsman films have done. But in this film, they do restrain on doing too many of those shots. I think a product of the Golden Circle and people complaining that it was very overwhelming how many of those unique shots they had. And I think it's part of Ben Davis, who's a different cinematographer than the other two films, kind of choosing to not use this stylistic camera work all the time. There are some standout shots. As an example, there's a sword fight and it cuts to the POV of the blade, which I thought was really cool. And there is an addition of like a lot of one-shot takes where it makes it look like the camera never cuts and it's one continuous shot, which I always love those. It offered a taste of what the other Kingsman films did with their cinematography, but it still left me a little bit hungry for more of those unique shots. Some of the set pieces are filled with CGI and it can seem a little bit awkward and pull you out of the film at times, but then we have some amazing set pieces of wartime battlefields that look beautiful. And when it has these battlefield and wartime scenes, just the score shines at its brightest, which they really did a fantastic job of transforming that Kingsman theme to fit the aesthetic of the 1920s. There are times that the film dragged on too long without an action scene. I was sitting there for like 15-20 minutes waiting for an action scene to happen, and I really think that this movie could have benefited with some more action in it. Overall, The Kingsman has a great structure, but with just too many wobbling pieces. If they would have tightened up the story a little bit and added some more interesting motives or characters, I think it would have benefited the film a lot more. And I would have loved to seen a little bit more of an origin of the Kingsman and how they got certain aspects that we see in the later films, but we just don't get that here. It's all kind of held to the last couple of minutes of the film. But because all these factors and with the scores tallied up, I give the Kingsman a 5.6 out of 10. But have you seen Kingsman, and what did you guys think? Leave a comment below and let me know. But if you made it this far, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn notifications on so you don't miss out on any future videos. I hope you guys like the new rating system. I think it's going to offer a lot more consistency and meaning behind all of my ratings from now on. But that is going to be it for me today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you movie lovers later. Peace!